All right, so today this is called a train the trainer. So you guys are going to be training your end users on how to use Microsoft Teams. Typically, that training can be done in 35 to 45 minutes, depending on questions you get and stuff like that. Today, we're going to go longer because this is train the trainer, and I anticipate more questions, and you guys actually need to be the experts. So I'm going to cover probably a little more detail than you would with your end users in some cases, and I'll try to point that out when it happens. So in the meeting, did everybody get the meeting invite? In the meeting invite,
Yep.
You'll find 2 attachments. One of them is the agenda that you're going to use, or you can use. You can also modify it if you want. The other one is a quick sheet, which just goes over the Microsoft Teams client and where things are in it. I'm not going to really use that today, but it's a handout that I would email to anyone you're giving the training to. What I'm going to do today is walk through the client, and let me share my screen. Just a second. So let me know if you can see it.
Yep, we can.
Yes, sir.
See it.
Just bring this over here. So I've got. All right. All right. So what is Microsoft Teams? Microsoft Teams is a collaborative application. It's used for a number of different things, from what we call persistent chat, which as in the Skype world, you know it as instant messaging. With Teams, it's more permanent, so you have a record of those conversations that's kept. It's also got a number of tools for collaborating around files and other content, such as meetings and stuff like that. Microsoft Teams can be run on multiple platforms, not just Windows Desktop, which is what we're going to primarily cover today, but you can also, it also has an iOS client and Android clients available, so you can run them on cell phones or tablets as well. The only requirement for Microsoft Teams is to be able to get to the internet. So what you guys are going to be doing is you're going to be cutting over from Skype for Business on-premise to Microsoft Teams. You probably are, a lot of you are already using Teams now, but when you get cut over, it's going to become your primary voice application. So it's going to become your phone system. And it's also going to be the primary at that point for instant messaging, or what we're now going to call chat. All right, so to go over the client, let's start here in the top left. I'm just going to go down here. I start with the activity feed. The activity feed is similar to like Facebook or other type of social media, where it's basically stuff that you've been working on or reacting to. So you can see I've got missed calls up here. I've got voicemails. I've got chats and reactions to chats. So that's basically what it is. It's just a quick feed for current stuff that's going on. The next thing down is chat. So when we do a chat, you can start a new chat. I could start entering somebody's name, like let's say Mike. So what it does is, you can see I've had a previous conversation with Mike, so it brings that up. Actually, let me do a different one. Let's see, Tabor. So if I have Tabor up here, this is my previous. It shows me my previous conversation with Tabor, and the reason it does this is because it's persistent. So it does keep a history of what I've done with Tabor. But if I were to add, let's say, Mike to that one, or let's not do external. Let's do, if I were to add Jeanette to that one, now it would bring up, if I had previous conversation with both Jeanette and Tabor, it would show that here. But one of the things it doesn't do is it doesn't show Jeanette the conversations that I've had with just Tabor. So those stay private. So as I add people to the conversation, it basically will create a new conversation if one hasn't existed between those participants before. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, so let's do Mike. So here's a previous conversation I've had with Mike. I'm going to use you as my example, Mike.
Uh-oh.
So to type a message, you simply just type down here. You can react to existing messages. So I can hover over it and I can get smileys or whatever. Mike reacted to that as well. If I want to get fancier with the fonts and stuff, I can click on where it says A here. And I can type formatting, including lists and bullets and tabs and all that stuff. One thing to note is when I hit enter, it just gives me a line feed. It doesn't actually post that message. So when I'm in the fancier formatting option, which is the text box, in order to post it, I've got to come over here and push this button here, where the little paper airplane looking thing, and then it posts it. Other things I can do. So one of the things that I've noticed here is, so Mike's an external user and it tells me it's external. So it's letting me do certain things. And one of those is prioritizing a message. So if I were to come over here to, let's say, Sherry, let's go, actually, let's go Stacy. Now, you'll, I can mark a message with an urgency. So you'll see the little explanation point here that wasn't showing with Mike. I can mark it as important, or I can mark it as urgent. Important, you'll just put a box around it and highlight it and give Stacy a notification that it's this is an important message. If I mark it urgent, it will nag her every 2 minutes for 20 minutes until she sees it or responds to it. So let me go back here. Also, it's not showing with Mike. It doesn't show the file upload feature. Let me go to Tabor. Tabor's used to me bugging him. So with internal users, I can either just drag a file here. Let's see. I can just drag a file and drop it. Or I could click here and just upload it from my computer. One thing again to note, it puts the file in the box, but it doesn't post it until I once again click the send button. So other fun things you've got here, which I do with Mike as well, is you've got smileys or emoji. So you got a full list of those and you can search them. You got GIFs. Now, you see it seems to show a short list, but here you can actually type, something that you want GIFs related to, like happy. And you can see I can get quite a few more. Or if I want angry, I can get GIFs that relate to angry. So you can put any keywords you want up there. And then
I have a question, Tabor, John. You said Tabor earlier. Hey, I don't know that we would necessarily want to do this, but do they have any controls on the GIF function? Like what
turning it off?
No, turning it off or like what content it shows?
You can turn it off, and I'll show you that later.
Okay.
That's part of the training.
Okay, thanks.
We could turn it off, I should say. Well, you could turn it off in the main admin, but you can also turn it off for a given team, and we'll come back to that.
Okay.
When we cover
Thanks.
teams a little bit better. All right, so you've got GIFs. Another fun one you've got are memes and stickers. So these are the stickers, but if you click on memes, you can actually upload your own picture, or you can select one and create your own, or create your own words for whatever that picture is. So, and again, you have to click the send button to post it. Good question though, Mike. And anybody on the call, feel free to ask questions as we go. We've got time for that today. I want to make sure that you guys are all the experts. So if something comes up, let me know if you think of something. All right, so we mentioned uploading files, which I showed you. One thing to note is when you upload a file in the one-to-one chat, which is what this is, that file is back-ended in OneNote. Or not OneNote, OneDrive, I'm sorry. It's back-ended in OneDrive. So you are able to edit that file, co-edit it with somebody who's on the call with you or on the chat with you. All right, moving on.
So John, just a question on that. So you're saying that if the file is uploaded into Teams, it automatically is saved into OneDrive? Or
Okay, so that's a complicated question. When we get to Teams, when we get to the Teams,
Yep.
those files are all back-ended in SharePoint.
Okay.
But if on the one-to-one chat,
Yeah.
It's back-ended in OneDrive,
Interesting.
which
Okay.
gives you some ability to co-edit the file together.
Sure.
Specific folder location already defined in your OneDrive? Is there?
I haven't tested it, but and I have a feeling. See how, Mike, it's not letting me share a file with you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that's something we can turn on in the admin panel. There's a whole bunch of settings on what guests can do or outside user, external users.
Right.
And it may be turned off for my tenant. But like with internally, I can do it. So if I were to go to Tabor and I were to share this with him, it's not React, letting him know it's a test. And then I can open it.
I'm getting the same thing too. I can't send a file to you.
Right. So I think there's something that's off by default. We might be able to open that up.
There's a setting that I think you set. Yeah.
So it's off by default with external users. You can't share files, I guess. But that could be turned on, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's default. It might be how your company set it.
Let's
Awesome.
go.
I just sent a file to Chad. We'll see where it lands.
I'm going to my OneDrive now.
Let's see. Because I know Skype would do that if you sent a file.
So that was Microsoft Teams chat files. How about that?
That sounds promising.
There they are. There's the one I just did. Okay, we found them. It creates a folder called Microsoft Teams chat files. Easy enough. All right, so that's it on chat, but we're going to cover chat a little bit more when we talk about it within the context of Teams. And Teams meaning what this, this is the chat functionality which replaced instant messaging. When we get to Teams, these are going to be groups of users that collaborate together. And within a team or within a channel, you have what are called posts. And in those posts are conversations. So this is chat, but it's divided up a little bit different. We're going to talk about that in a second. First, let's talk about teams. Okay, so a team, like I said, is a group of people that collaborate together, and this could be a department, it could be people that collaborate around a specific document, or it could be a project. There's a lot of reasons you might create a team. Here I have one called internal projects. And then within a team, you have what are called channels. And the channels are used to organize content within a team. And we're going to talk more about content in a minute. First, let's talk about a team and managing a team. So to create a team, you're going to click on the bottom here. You're going to click Join or Create a Team. If you had a code that was generated, you could join an existing team if somebody sent it to you, or you can create a team. So we're going to create a team, and we've got several choices, and these templates are brand new. That's a new feature. We can create a team from scratch. We can create a team from a group or an existing team. So a group would be specifically an Office 360 or Microsoft 365 group, not a AD group per se. But if you have an existing team, I can create a new team from the existing team. What that means is it'll copy it like a template, if you will, right? So if you had like a project you wanted to duplicate, you could do that. They also now have these templates that are available. This, like I said, this is brand new. So you can play with that if you want. To create a team from scratch, we just click that, and you're going to see that you have 3 types of teams that you can create. Private, public, and org-wide. So a private, people basically need to be invited to join it. They're not going to know about it unless they get invited to it. So this could be something that you would use. Maybe you're doing employee reviews or something like that, and people don't really need to know about that team unless they're invited to it. A public one, anyone in your organization can ask to join it. They still need to be admitted by the organizer. And an org-wide team is just that. It's everyone in the organization. Typically, you only have one org-wide team per organization, and everybody's automatically a member of it. So if we go to create a public team, you would give it a name.
Can I ask you a question about the org-wide?
Sure.
So you only can have one?
No, you can have more than one. I'm just saying you typically wouldn't have more than one, just because everybody's automatically a member of it.
I think you can have 5 total.
That's
is
right.
the
Okay.
is the minimum or maximum, I should say. And you have to be a global admin to create it.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
I've just never seen more than one, but I guess if you had a reason for it, you could.
Well, and we're looking at using a team as a department, and then the main general tab, when you go to the back into SharePoint, having that be utilized and tie it to our intranet as their homepage, for instance, HR.
So
But I can
anytime so just so you know, when you create a team or even a Microsoft 365 group, it automatically creates a SharePoint page associated with that
Yes.
team.
Correct. So if I go to the back end and I want to make that the HR department team site where they just collaborate as a team, but then the SharePoint we want to open up on the backside as an intranet site to push data. Is that workable?
I guess you could. You can't. There's no way for you to control what that I mean, the site gets created, it's managed by teams. So the site does get created in SharePoint, and the permissions to it are granted automatically. So anyone who's a member of that team gets granted permissions to that SharePoint site. So that all happens. I don't think there's a way to associate a different SharePoint site with a given team. But I'm not
No,
sure if
it
that's
would
what you're
be,
asking. But
yeah,
if
it
you
was
want
under
to
the agenda
utilize,
tab where you go to SharePoint, and then I'll look at that. I'll have to look at that bit. We were thinking to do it that way instead of
Okay.
creating more communication sites.
well, and you may be saying something that I'm not quite picking up on, but if I go to a channel here and I were to go to files and I just say open in SharePoint,
Hmm.
that's going to open up that page. So you can
Go
see
to the
there,
home page. I was thinking the home page we can make as a public page for users.
yeah. I
See,
mean,
but
it
if,
does. So like if you create that common page, it's going to create a site for it.
yeah, I understand that.
And
It's just,
and
it
then
would
you
have
could
to be
utilize
a,
that site for other stuff. So now I can edit this site that exists that was created by teams. I can edit it and put widgets on it and stuff like that and kind of make it into my intranet, if that's what you're
right.
asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, but I'm just asking it would be more ideal to have a wide, org wide, so we wouldn't have to have people join. But
Yeah, and so
that's something I'll
here's,
look into.
we do have one. This is my org wide right here. So let's do the same thing here. We'll go to general and we'll go to files and we'll open in SharePoint. And you can see I've got an org wide site here
Mhm.
that was created automatically. It's a public group
Right.
and everybody's automatically a member of it.
So then if we use that link on the homepage link for here, from the SharePoint, like if it's an intranet and they're just linking, going in from the URL, then they should just have access anyways, right? It's just in Teams would have to, on the team side, you would have to join if you wanted to.
Well, no,
I'll test it. I think I
okay,
know what I'm
sorry.
asking.
Org
No
wide,
worries.
everyone's automatically a member on an org
Yeah,
wide.
we only have 5 of them though, and I don't think I don't even see it as an option for me anymore. So,
All right,
okay, got it. Sorry.
no problem. I want you to ask questions. I want to make sure
Great.
you guys are be able to communicate with everyone else and get the right answers. All right. So anyways, that's how you create a team. To manage a team, we'll click on the ellipsis here, the 3 dots, and we'll go to manage. And I'm not sure, so normally a team organizer, and Mike, can you answer this? Are you guys going to be allowing, who are you going to allow to create teams?
Only IT. So that would be right now it's Denise and Ian. We have a security group that was enabled through PowerShell that allows for them to create teams right now.
And even then, in the midst of the administration stuff, I've kind of stepped back from that. So it's really just Denise right now,
Yeah,
although I
it's
think I
mainly-
still have the ability to do it, but I haven't been.
Got it.
Yeah, we're trying to structure the structures right now too, to put in place. So that's why we're kind of limiting it to just me for now.
Okay, but any owner, if there's any owner of a team, and that doesn't have to be IT, I guess, can manage members of the team. They can add and delete members and stuff like that. So to add a member, I can just click here and type somebody and invite them. I can invite, if you've enabled this, you can invite external users to teams. So if I were to invite Mike, I can add him as a guest to my team, because in my environment, I'm allowing guests to participate in a team. So you can have people from outside the organization join a team if you allowed it. And then we'll talk about the admin center in a minute, but
Cool.
that's a possibility. So once somebody's been added as a member, you can promote them to owner by coming over here and just dropping that down, selecting owner. We do recommend that you have at least 2 owners of every team. so that if one's unavailable, then there's somebody else who can administrate the team. Another thing you can do here, and I'll show you a different way of doing it, are administrate tags. So you'll see we've got some tags here. I can come up to somebody and I can add or remove a tag. So I can type a name of a new tag, or I can click and add this person to an existing tag. And what tags let you do is what are at mentions. So we didn't talk about at mentions yet. We're going to do that in a little bit, but basically when you can at mention a tag, and then everybody who's been tagged with that tag will get notified of a post. All right, and then Mike had brought it up earlier. There are different permissions you can set for a team. One of them is you can turn off what they're calling the fun stuff, Giphies, stickers, memes, custom memes. So this is as granular as it gets. It looks like for the Giphies, it does have filter out inappropriate content, and you could do moderate and strict, Mike. And I have no idea what that means. You're gonna have to play with it.
It sounds dangerous. All right.
But you do have this ability for teams. Now to do it on an organizational level in the chat, that's going to be in the admin panel where you can turn it off, the Teams admin panel. All right, so here by default, only team owners can manage tags. You can see on this team, I've opened it up that members can also create tags. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Okay,
can hear you.
my-
Sorry,
sometimes
we're
my
all
headset
muted.
acts. Oh, I heard my headset click, and sometimes it has an issue. But okay, Teams code. Here I can generate a code that you can send to people to request to join a team. At mentions. This is where we can just choose who has the ability to use them. And then guest permissions for this team. So if I, on the organizational level, I'm allowing guests. This is on the team level. I can give guests more permissions if I want. By default, these are both off. If I want to give the guests the ability to create or delete channels, I can do that. And then member permissions. And I can even add a team picture. So here's where you can manage the apps that are associated with a team. By default, you're going to get almost all of them with the commercial version of Teams. For government entities, they actually have to manually add all of these themselves if they want to have them. So I'm not going to cover apps too much yet. We'll come back to it. All right, so channels. So like I mentioned before, channels are where content is stored and organized within a team. By default, everybody gets a general channel. When you create a new team, the general channel is going to exist. None of the others do. And by default, within a channel, you get 3 tabs, post, files, and wiki. And we're going to go into more detail on those in a second. So to create a channel, the easiest way is just to right click on the top here and click add channel and give it a name and a description. And then again, you've got 2 choices. You've got standard channels and private channels. A standard channel, everybody who's a member of the team will have access to all the content within that channel. With a private channel, I can limit that access to a subset of the people on the team. And where you might want to do that is like if you have external people on a team and there's certain content that you don't want to have available to those external people, then this is a way to do that. You would create a private channel and keep that content organized there. All right, so let's look at how a channel works and how it's organized. So we talked about conversations or posts. So this is exactly like chat. So all the functionality that we saw in chat is here, but it's organized into conversations. Now, one cool thing about this is everybody on this team has access to all the posts that are made here. So what that means is you can have a conversation around a project or whatever, and you can reference somebody to that. So this should get rid of a lot of that, what I call internal spam, where people do reply all to emails and stuff to a big group of people. If you have the conversation here instead of an email, everybody who needs it has access to that thread, and you don't have to replicate it to 20 mailboxes and keep doing reply all. Anybody who's a member of the team, they can control their notifications. By default, they're gonna see that there's something waiting here that they haven't seen. If there's an @ mentioned, they'll actually get a pop-up notification that tells them they've got something waiting for their attention. So let's take a look at one of these conversations. So like this one, you can see there's 2 replies. This one has 6, so they're collapsed by default. So I can click on that and extend the whole conversation. To reply to a specific conversation, I can just click reply, and it will. To create a whole new conversation, I come down here and click this button here, and I can start a new conversation. All right, so let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of the things we just talked about. So you can see I've got all the same stuff I had in a chat. But in a chat you can do this as well. I just didn't show it to you before, but you could do what I call @ mention. So I can do @ Trevor and then type something, and then Trevor's going to get a notification if I send that to him. Does that make sense? So the other thing that we can do is @ and then I mentioned the tags to you. So we had tags, which was I think one of them was server. Let's see. Yeah, so server consolidation. This is a tag. So that'll give a notification to everybody who's part of that tag.
And that, John, that tag is specific to this team, right?
That tag is the tag was managed on a team level. So
Okay.
let's go back here and right click. And if I right click here, one of the things I get is manage tags. So before I was in manage teams, that's another way to do it. But if I just want to manage tags, I can just click on that, manage tags. And this is for this team, the internal projects team. So here's all the tags that I've got. And if I click on one, I can see who's in that tag. Let's go ahead and so Trevor had created some test ones. So let me see if I can delete those. I guess I have to do it in the other place. Probably have to untag some people to get rid of it. So if I were to go back to manage team, let's find these presenters. He's got 2. These are Trevor's tags, so it's not letting me remove them. Okay, well, good to know. I guess I can't. I wanted to get rid of the tags. Actually, I can do it. Okay, presenter and presenter. Apply. remove, remove. Remove, remove, and remove, remove. All right, so I've got rid of those tags. And they're gone because there's nobody with that tag anymore. All right, so that's tags. And that's how you use the chat function. But let me just show you a couple other quick things you can do. So there are some other controls, like praise. If I do an @praise, you can send people praise. So I can select one and add somebody to it. And preview, send. So now I've added a praise for Trevor. He'll get notified. Everybody on that team, the team will see the praise as well. So if you come up here to search and you go you can see some of the things that are available to you. Or if I do question mark. All right, so those are the things. Talking about search, let's look at that. So we talked about chat and conversations being persistent. So I can actually come up here to the search function here and type a word, and I can see all my conversations and such that had the word server in it. So this is a quick way you can look for content that you may already have a conversation on. That it's not going to let me see anything that I don't have permissions to see, like conversations with those people. But anything that I participated in, I'll be able to see. And that search function works for your private chats as well as the team posts. So going back to a channel, conversations are one part of it, files are another. And I know we had talked about this, but these files are back-ended in SharePoint, which means that it supports a lot of the cool stuff that SharePoint supports, including versioning and co-editing. So if I were to go open in SharePoint, here's my library. I've got those options. I can go look at version history and roll back or open up a previous version, etc. Which is nice. To upload a file, you can simply drag it here, or you can click the upload button.
Hey, John, just real quick. I know this was so 1 minute ago, but back on the search through chat, safe to assume it's only going to pick up stuff that we actually did in Teams, one-on chat, or chat within Teams, as opposed to something that was in Skype.
Right, it's not going to have anything with Skype.
Okay, thanks.
Skype, you do have your conversation history in Outlook, if you've ever used that.
Yeah.
But that's the only way you can do it in Skype.
Okay, thank you.
This is strictly Teams, and the search is indexed, so it's quick, and it's everything that you have permissions to. So if you're a member of a team or your private chats or whatever. So it is a pretty useful thing.
Hey, John, does that go into files as well too? Or is it only for communications. So anything from like you have Excel sheet there, right? Would it go into the Excel sheet to look for information?
So it'll find that sheet. What will find something in it? I don't know. Let's try that. So that has chain forward SBS -PO1. So that's the name of a server that's actually in that sheet. Nope, doesn't look like it. Does it? No. Let me try putting it in quotes.
And do you know if this search feature leverages SharePoint underneath or equivalent, or is its own search ability?
I don't. It doesn't look like it searches the content of files, so I'm going to say no on that.
Okay.
It looks like it's just the chats.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't look like it's quite that powerful. All right, so those are the files. You can create folders as well under the structure. So another thing you have are what are called wikis. And so a wiki is a collection of articles, and these articles can link to each other. So if I wanted to add a link, let's say to this page here, if I could come over here and click the little ellipses, click copy link, go back to this article. And just paste it in there. So now when I click that link, it takes me to that article. So the way this works is this can be used for like job aids or a knowledge base, any type of knowledge base, and they can cross-reference each other, which is kind of cool. So you can build up a knowledge base. So like if you're creating a page on how to build a server, but maybe there's a separate article on how to join a computer to a domain, then you could reference that article rather than rebuild all that knowledge again, and replicate that knowledge into the same article. And so if you guys are familiar with wikis, that's how they work. And that's how, this is a fairly simple wiki. It's just got the list of articles on the left here, and they can cross-reference each other. And that app, if you will, is up there by default. So these three are the three that you get by default. This one is one I added myself. And so the way you can add tabs up here is you come up to the plus sign here, and it's going to give you a list of apps. And remember, we talked about apps before. So these apps at the top are referring to types of files. So if I want to add an Excel file up there, I could click Excel. If I want to add a Word file, I could click Word. So let's click Word. And it's gonna only show me what's in my library. So I can only add a document that's already in my library. Does that make sense? So if I want to add the test doc here to the top, I click that and click Save. So I selected Word. So one thing you'll notice is it didn't name it test doc, it named it Word. So what you're going to want to do is go and rename it. And now it's got a name that makes sense. And so to get to this file, I can literally just click it. Here's my Excel file that I've already put up there. Now I'm editing that file. One cool thing about this is I don't have to open up Excel. I've got all the Excel functionality right here within the Teams client. So all I had to do is click on that tab and I'm editing the Excel document. And if somewhere else were to click into it, I would see their initials up here and I can co-edit with that person. We can both be editing this at the same time. And in fact, 3 or 4 people could be editing this at the same time and adding content to it. So this is a good way to collaborate.
The only thing, there's some features that don't work well. So I usually do open it in the desktop app.
And you have that option.
Yeah. Because there's some features that won't work when
You're
doing
right.
it.
It's basically the web client, so it is
Yeah.
limited a bit, but depends on what you're doing. I mean, Excel might be an extreme example, but like, if you're just editing a Word document, often it's adequate. In this case, this worked actually well for us because all we're doing, we're using Excel, but we're just kind of treating it like a document. We're not doing anything fancy. We're just keeping track of status of servers we're trying to consolidate, right? So this worked out well for us. But yeah, if you're an extreme Excel user, then this probably won't work for you. You may need to open it up in the full app. But co-editing is still supported, even in the full app. So let me go ahead and remove that. So if I were to open in app, so you got the option right here, I can just open in the desktop app.
Hey,
And
John, so safe to assume that, if we get to utilizing Teams for our different groups, right, this could obviously have some benefit to the types of licensing that we get for some of our users. And we already have that scenario today where not everybody needs, a full version of, the different Office licenses. So this is safe to assume that, since they potentially won't need the desktop version, that they can continue to use it within this limited online version with potential.
So yeah, I mean, all the basic plans, if you will. So even the plans that don't include the downloadable and installable Office typically include the web version of the client. So web Excel would be included with an E1, for instance.
Perfect. Exactly what I'm looking for. Thanks.
Right. So even they could edit. They could open up Excel in a browser even without going to Teams. They could get Excel in a browser, Word in a browser. All that's available to them with a
Sure.
standard E1.
Great.
You don't need an E3 for that.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
Yep. All right. So that's how you add tabs and kind of how apps work. Okay. Next on the list is calls. So any questions on Teams and channels before I move on? Okay. So let's go take a look at calls. This is what this tab looks like. Because you will be using Teams as your phone client, if you have a headset or some kind of speaker microphone on your computer, you will have a dial pad and you can dial out and make and receive calls. You'll have access to your voicemail here as well. Just like I know it comes to your email, but it also comes here. You have call history, and your contact list is synced to here as well. And then you can create speed dials. So, and groups. So this is a group. To create a speed dial, you can just click it and add a name or number. Super easy. These are my speed dials. And I can place a call or start a chat with them, whatever I want to do, video call. This isn't typically how I do it. Other than, if I want to place a phone call, I usually just cut and paste a phone number in here. If it's somebody that's already in my contact list, I can type their name. Let's try Mike.
Hey, John, you still there?
Okay.
I think we lost him.
We might be on
He's-
hold.
He's on hold.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If you look at the
This is
participants, it tells you the status.
This is exactly what happened to me, guys. Remember when I did my presentation? I called out and I put you guys all on hold.
Yep.
Yep. Jimmy, where
Alright.
did you see his status?
I
Uh,
accidentally clicked on a call. I should have done
No worries.
that. That was me.
If you, Mike, if you open the participants on the top pane, you can see the list. And when John picked up the call, it went on hold.
Got it. Okay. I was looking at all our little icons in the bottom.
Yeah,
I didn't
don't do
see
that.
anything.
Yeah, don't get trapped.
Don't do what I just did. When you're demoing it, you don't want to actually make that call. All right. So anyways, these are your speed dials. You can also, from your chat, you can make calls. So I can go to a chat. From here, I can initiate a call. Here's Mike. I'm not going to click it again like I did. But this would initiate a call to Mike. And I can potentially drop it down if it has a list with his other phone numbers. But here you can also just paste a phone number in here too. Like if you're on a website or whatever, you can just cut and paste the number here and dial. All right, so that's calls.
Oh, quick question. So on calls, I know I got this to work, but it was kind of fuzzy to me. Is there a certain way to add another person to a call, transfer a call?
Right,
Someone
so
else?
these controls are all going to be the same, really. When you're in a call, you're going to have these controls up here, right?
Mhm.
So I can come up here, I can add participants. If it's a one-on-one call, you should have some kind of symbol like that or a plus with a person. So often you're in a call, you'll see in the upper right, you'll see a plus with a person. You can just click on it and add either a name or a phone number to the call. So if I go here, I can type a phone number, like my cell number, and I can simply pull it in to the call. So now my to this conference. Okay, I'm going to turn it off. So good question, Mike.
I don't know if you see when we saw like the 916 and then the stars. So we couldn't see the phone number that you added in, but on your screen that you're presenting, we were able to see the phone number.
You didn't see that?
So we see on yours, but from my end, I don't see it.
Yeah,
I-
that makes sense. Yeah. I get it. Yeah, they're
So
hiding
that's-
from you.
Yeah. So that's good for like if someone were to ask for and all that.
Right, I understand. Yep, they hide it. But that's how you can pull somebody in. So you can go to the participants list and do it. Now we're coming back to we're going to meetings right now. So let me see. I was gonna cover how to schedule meetings, but do you want me to cover how to meeting controls first? I guess I could do that. Meeting controls and also in phone calls, it's the same thing. Generally now with the newer client, it's going to pop a new window. So you'll see that I have my Teams client here, and then I've got a separate window here for my call, my actual call. And I can add people to it, like you saw. I can show the conversation for this. This is our conversation. Everybody on the call has access to that. Interestingly, that also shows up here under chat. So that the conversation for this meeting actually shows up here as well. Raise your hand. Okay, and then there's more actions here. Here, I can start meeting notes. So if I want to keep notes and these notes stay with the meeting, either in your chat or if this is associated with a team, it'll show up in the team posts. So I can start taking notes on this meeting. And then that content is stored permanently with the meeting. Okay, so go back.
Hey, John, when someone raises their hand, does everybody see that the hand is raised of that person or only the organizer?
I've never tested it. Go ahead, raise your hand.
Raising
I
my
think-
hand now.
I think everybody who's a presenter sees it. And in this call, everybody's a presenter.
Oh, okay.
I see.
Because I made everybody a presenter.
Okay.
So if I go to my conversation, actually, if I go to my participant, presenter, if I want to demote somebody, I can make them an attendee. Also, we're going to talk about meeting settings in just a second, but that's one of the settings is what people come in at, right? So if I come here and I go to meeting options under my little ellipses here, and this can be in an active meeting, and I'll show you how to do this in a meeting that you're scheduling as well. So one of the things by default, only people in my organization are admitted to bypass the lobby. You can see I changed this to everyone, so I wouldn't have to keep clicking admit when you guys join, because it's kind of a big call and I didn't want to have to sit there and click admit constantly. So I had done that before the meeting started. I changed this to everyone can bypass the lobby. That is kind of a security issue, because if somebody were to share this link with anybody, they could join our call and just get right to the lobby. And then callers would be PSTN callers. And I can also turn off the announcement when people join, if I don't want to hear that. And then this is who's a presenter, right? So everyone, only me, only specific people. I can set that here.
That actually would be a good thing for our town halls, Mike. You know, like everybody sometimes have their mute on and off. You have that
Yeah.
option to allow people to unmute.
Yep.
And same thing for who can present, so you don't kick the main guy off.
Right. Accidentally sharing their video or
Yep.
or whatnot. Yeah.
And I will say this interface is kind of new. What it happened before when you click meeting options is it would pop open a web page and you had to sign in if you weren't already signed in to the to Office 365 on the web. Now it puts it right here and you can control it within the client, which is nice. That's a lot better. So that's new.
And the only person that can go into that meeting options is the scheduler, or is it I don't meeting options on mine.
Yeah. I don't see it either.
I think it's
details.
just the organizer, yeah, of the meeting. I think that's
Okay.
true. All right, and so I've got other things here like device settings, and this is for specifically for this meeting. So if I wanted to move, like let's say I had an external conference speaker that I wanted to use, and I didn't want to use my headset, I could move for this meeting. I could move to that device. This doesn't change the default setting for Teams. I'll show you that later. This is just for this meeting. Gallery view, which is on by default. And that's where, you know, if we're doing video and it gives you the Brady Bunch look like you see here, right? But if you would actually see people's video. You can turn off gallery view so it then focuses on one person at a time. And this only affects you, not everybody in the meeting. And then there's this new thing called Together Mode, which makes it look more like you're around a conference table, I believe. But none of us are doing video right now, so you'll have to play with that. And then there's also large gallery, which goes beyond the 3x3 or whatever. These are useful, so I could select full screen and focus. Right now, it's not letting me select focus, but you guys probably have focus because I'm sharing my screen.
Yep. Focus and full screen set.
Yeah, so what that does is it'll focus in particular brings you in closer and lets you see more of my screen.
I think it also hides the feeds. if anybody was presenting video, that's all hidden now too.
So those are useful. Call me lets me call my cell phone, so I can use that as a audio device. Background effects. Have you guys played with this?
Yeah,
Yeah. it's custom.
I put in a custom one for Halloween.
Yeah. So there's a file location, and I put it on your agenda. So you have that location. It's right here.
Yep.
If you put a picture there, it'll show up as a custom background.
If we wanted to, we could even, I don't know that marketing would want to do this, but we might even be able to come up with like a couple like Clark Pacific backgrounds that we could distribute out too. So people could use those in their meetings.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I've seen people like working at home, but they look like they're in the office
Mm-hmm.
with the background, the logo.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. You could go to your office, take your
Yeah.
webcam, take a still, and then use it as the background.
Exactly. Have the logo
The
on
one
the
I
back.
use the most is blur background.
Yeah.
I guess I could turn on my video. I'm not really dressed up right now.
Here,
But you see, it's on by. It remembers my last background, which is blur background, so that's on. And
I'll do one too, John.
Alrighty. What happened to all my custom ones? They're not there. Something happened.
So all those backgrounds are already there for us.
These are default
Mhm.
ones. Yeah. I don't see my
Nice.
custom ones.
We got more last time.
Now, oh, you know what? Look, Mike, this is new.
Oh,
If you add new up here, that wasn't there before. And all my custom ones are gone, the ones I copied to that location. So it looks like they changed the method. So all my custom ones are gone. Add new, I probably have to go to that location and then add them. So this is new.
oh, and it throws it to the bottom of the list. So here I came up with my.
Oh, wiped it out. Oh, you know what it is? I've got a
Like
new computer.
balloons, Lewis.
I know why they're
Heart
gone.
attack.
Thanks.
I had to rebuild my computer. My hard drive died. So I lost all my backgrounds.
Oh no.
Darn it. But now you can add them here. You don't have to copy them to that location. So that's good.
Cool.
Nice.
All right. So meeting controls, going back to that. So, and then to turn on record, normally this says start recording. Right now it says stop recording because we're recording. So that's basically those controls there. This one's the screen share. If I click it, it's going to stop sharing my screen. I had taken some screenshots though. Have you guys done screen share? Do you guys pretty much know how that works?
Yeah, I think we've used it. So, I mean, well, I used it a little
display it
bit.
Right now, I'm
Cool.
sharing my screen. You guys can see my screen.
Right.
So let me find, I have some, if I were to click this, it's going to stop sharing and you won't see what I'm trying to show you. So I took some screenshots. Let me see if I can find them. I may not have them anymore because like I said, I had to rebuild my machine. Just a second. Let's see if I have them. And I don't have them anymore.
Is this when you allow someone?
Well, I'm
Edit?
going to stop sharing my screen and then I'll take a screenshot of it. How's that? Okay, hold on. Okay, now you can't see my screen, but let's go. All right. Okay, can you see my screen again?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So when I clicked on that, you see it turned into a little down arrow, and it gave me some options of what I wanted to share. I can share I have two screens, so screen 1 and screen 2, or I can show a specific app versus a screen. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep.
So I would just select one of these, which I normally just share one screen.
When you share an app, does it have the ability to show the app even though another application window is above it without showing like a grayed out area of the application that's over the top of the shared application? I want to say I thought I saw Teams do that once. Like even though the
If
window
you
was
share an
layered.
app and pull an app
Yeah.
over it, I think it blanks it out.
Okay.
You don't see the other app.
Oh right. Yeah,
So
I've
best
seen
way
like
is
in
to share a
some.
whole screen, which is what I normally do. I share a whole
Okay.
screen, just drag things into it as I need them.
Yeah, I think I've seen in like other meeting software, right, where you share somebody shares an app like an Excel sheet, but then as soon as another application window overlaps it, it like kind of like obscures
Exactly.
that
That's
part
what
of the
happens.
application they're sharing, right?
Yeah, I think that's what happens. So let's try it.
Okay.
I'll share.
I thought I tried it with Teams once and it still showed it, so that's why
Okay,
I was
I'm
wondering.
going to I'm going to share the actually that's not an app. Hold on. It's a PowerPoint. I don't want to do that. Let me see if I have an app. Here's all my apps. I was wondering where that went. Okay, so let's do this one. Okay, so right now you can see an app, right?
Yep.
I'm going to pull something on top of it that's not being shared. What happens?
You still see the whole app with nothing obscured.
Oh, okay. Then that's what happens.
Okay. I was pretty sure I've seen that once in Teams, but it was completely unintentional. I was just like, oh wow, that was cool. So
All right.
good to know.
Screen. All right. So that's good. All right. So you can share just an app. This is where you know how you can mute yourself and turn on video and turn off video. All right. So those are the meeting controls. If I go, like we showed this before, where you can show participants and you can mute them here. So if somebody has a lot of background noise as the organizer, you can go in and mute them. One thing you can't do is unmute them like you used to be able to do in Skype, right? It doesn't give you the unmute as the organizer. So I noticed that difference.
If you mute somebody, will it tell them that they were muted and by whom?
I don't
Try
know.
muting me.
But I can't unmute you, so you have to unmute yourself.
I unmuted myself and it does tell you you're muted. I put it in the chat window. What it looks like, it says you've been muted. Someone in the meeting muted you. At least no names. So
You can also do mute all.
It tells you in the activity.
When I do mute all, it will mute everybody except yourself. It does not mute yourself. So as a meeting presenter, so anybody who's a presenter can do this. If you click mute all, then everybody gets muted except yourself.
cool.
Which is a nice quick way of doing it if you're not sure where the noise is coming from.
Yeah, this is like Jimmy mentioned, like our org-wide meetings that are in Teams. This is like more firepower for making sure that whoever runs the meeting should probably be an organizer with it so they can do that, right? So yeah, that's cool.
All right, so let's get into how to create a meeting. All right, there's a few ways of doing it. The most common way is using Outlook. So when you install the Teams client, the Outlook plugin is installed by default. So if somebody doesn't have the plugin, you can go and look at options and see if it got somehow turned off, right? Sometimes they get turned off, but or you can reinstall the Teams client to fix it. All right, so to create a new meeting, you can go to anywhere you want it, like anytime you want to do it. Come up and then just hit your new meeting plugin. And you'll see it automatically populates the meeting with the join info. So here's my click to join. Here's my audio join information. Now, Mike or Lewis or whoever, is everybody going to have audio conferencing? Do you know, or is that going to be a kind of selectively who has it?
I think everybody with an E5 will have audio conferencing,
Yeah, it is part of E5.
which would be the vast majority of people.
Okay, good.
So question then, what happens, and thanks Mike for jumping in there. What happens then if they don't have E5? Will it not auto-populate? Will it just give them a link
So if they
without?
don't have E5, you would have to either get them an audio. So none of the other plans include audio conferencing. It is available as a separate license for $4 a month per user.
I see.
So yeah, they would not have this portion of it. They would only have the join by link portion.
Gotcha. And when you say $4 a month, is that plus some amount of minutes, or is it just $4 flat?
$4 flat for audio conferencing. So this
Okay,
is
okay.
just for this is only matters to the creator of the meeting. People who join the meeting, they don't have to have it. The person who
Gotcha.
creates the meeting has to have the audio conferencing license.
Understood. Okay.
Which is part of E5. E5 does include it. But if they don't have E5, like if they're E1, then you would have to add that for them to have the ability to include a number.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
But it's still cheaper than an E5, an E1 plus audio conferencing. All right, so anyways, this information gets populated automatically when I created it using the join Teams meeting. I can invite people to my meeting, including people within my organization or out of my organization. And since this is in Outlook, if I click scheduling assistant, I can see, obviously I don't have any rights to Mike's calendar, but I can see like Tabor's, and I can find a meeting slot that works best for this meeting, and I can just adjust it to that. All right, so another nice little trick when you're doing it within the Outlook client is, let's say I'm inviting people to the meeting, but I don't want other people to see their email address. So a nice little workaround is, instead of just typing their name here under required, I can click the required button and I can put the person's name under resources. So versus under required, I'm putting them under resources. Now the other people I've invited to join won't see Bob's email address in the invite. You guys follow me on that? Normally you would see everybody in the invite, you would see their email addresses. But if I put it under resources instead of under the required, by clicking on required, so even though this address shows up under required, if I click here, I can see it's really under resources. So by putting it under resources, nobody else will be able to see Bob's address. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like a BCC, but
It's like a
resources.
BCC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you normally can't do with a meeting, but that's how you can do it as a workaround. So let's go ahead and create this meeting.
Quick question, John, you might be going into this. You mentioned you can define like some of the meeting controls or options.
Yes,
for
but
the
I cannot
meeting?
do it yet.
Okay.
Right, I have to create the meeting first. So good point, Mike, good lead in. So I'm gonna go ahead and create this meeting. Now I've got a meeting, and I can't do it in Outlook. That's one thing I can't do in Outlook. So my meeting is now created. So I'm gonna go back to my Teams client. And let's go to today. Here's my test meeting.
What can't you do? I'm sorry.
Say again.
What can't you do in Outlook?
Meeting options.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm now in my calendar that's in my Teams client, right? I can see that meeting that I created using Outlook. Now I can drill into that meeting. And now I can make changes to it. So I can go to meeting options here, which is going to do that old pop the web page thing. Hold on. All right, so now I can set these options for that meeting that I just created. That answer it, Mike?
Yes. Sorry,
Okay.
it's on mute.
Sorry. All right, so but other things I can do, I'm going into this meeting. Other things I can do now that the meeting's been created is I can pre-populate meeting notes. I can go here. I can start a whiteboard. I can upload files to the meeting so that they're there when the meeting starts, etc. So this is pretty cool. I can go back into the meeting, like I said, after it's been created and add stuff before it starts and also set the meeting options. I can also create a meeting right here from, I can create a meeting right here from the Teams client. I don't have to do it in Outlook. And this has some advantages and disadvantages. One of the disadvantages that you don't have that thing I told you where you can add a person as a resource so that other people can't see their email address. You can't do that in the Teams client. But I can add people.
I ran into something similar. I was trying to add somebody to a meeting this way or create a meeting, and it was somebody external, but they weren't part of any Teams or like my personal address group or list, right? And I couldn't add them into that field there. I ended up
You
creating it in
can.
Outlook
You should be able to
instead.
add anyone. So I've never invited Mickey to a meeting before, but here it lets me do it.
I may have been too impatient waiting for it to resolve to something. I've done that before.
All right. So yeah, it's doable. Okay, again, you can do recurrence. One of the advantages of doing the meeting here is I can add a channel to the meeting. So I can, go to my internal projects and server consolidation. And if I do this, that meeting becomes part of the content of that channel. So all my meeting notes, my chats that were part of this meeting, all are now part of that channel and are searchable. Does that make sense? So adding a meeting to a channel can be very useful. One other note here is when I'm creating the meeting using the Teams client, I don't see all that join info automatically populated here. It does get created after I send the meeting. So it is part of the meeting. It does get populated. I just don't see it before I hit send. So that's just a note. It's not, that's what's a little bit different from Outlook. You still have scheduling assistant where you can look for available times and all that. And I will go ahead and delete this meeting as well, so that Mike doesn't feel like he has to join it tomorrow. Let's see, cancel meeting. All right. Any questions on creating meetings? I can
here.
also, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say no, not for me.
I can also do a meet now, so I can start a meeting immediately and invite people here. And there is one other thing. There is something called a live event, which a standard meeting scales to about 250 people. So if you need to go bigger, like for a town hall type meeting, you can do a live event. The live event has a presenter. It also has a producer. So you have to have at least 2 people. The producer controls what's going onto the screen. The big downside to live events, and we're not going to really cover them here, is that there's like a 30-second delay. So whatever content is happening is delayed 30 seconds. So you're not going to get, it's not going to be very interactive.
Does that allow for some sort of like video audio editing? Like if somebody drops
Yeah.
a curse
lets
word
the
or something?
producer- yeah, lets the producer do that. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
You know, when you want to, you know, mute somebody, you know, if somebody said something inappropriate, whatever. It gives you like a 30-second delay as the producer to do whatever you need to do.
That's cool.
And you can have more than one producer, and you can have more than one presenter. You can have multiple presenters, and the producer controls who is on the screen at that point, or what content, you know, if you're sharing content. If you're going to do a big event like that, you're going to obviously want to do some trials before that and learn how to use the product. But I'm not going to cover it here. We covered, you know, I was working with a city that we work with, and they were going to do their city council meetings that way, but in the end, the 30-second delay proved to be too big of a problem because they wanted interactiveness. They wanted people to be able to interact with the city councils and stuff like that. So the delay can be an issue, but it will scale to thousands of people. So it really does scale. So if you need to do a big town hall or something, that could be a way to do it. Though the only way that the participants can interact with you is via chat.
No delay on chat.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
But there is a delay on the presenter. There's like a 30-second delay. And like I said, we're not going to really cover that in any detail here. That wasn't really the goal. So that takes me to presence and user settings. Okay, so in your Teams client, you'll have either your initials up here or your picture, depending on whether you have a profile picture in Office 365. If you click on that, here's where you can control your presence. So by default, presence is controlled automatically. It will look at your calendar, and if you've got a meeting in your calendar, it's going to show you busy. If you're actually presenting like I am, you can see it has me set to do not disturb. If I want to override that, let's say I wanted to be able to be disturbed during a meeting, even though I'm presenting, I can select busy and override that. If I want to just go back to having it automatically set, I can just do reset status.
Does do not disturb, does that block anybody from being able to IM or reach you?
So the way chats work is they're persistent, so that chat will show up. Eventually. You'll see it, right? Somebody sends you a chat. So it's not like I am that way, but you're not going to get the toast pop up and stuff. You're not going to get notified. You're not going to get notifications on your screen because you're presenting, right?
Okay.
And if somebody calls you, it's not going to ring.
That used to be something we struggled with Skype. Like some people, you could go to do not disturb and nobody could disturb them, and other people would go there and then they'd still get phone calls. And
so that's a setting. You can allow certain people to be able to disturb you. Let's see. So you can set priority access. So I can add people to my priority access who can interrupt me even though I'm do not disturb.
Cool. Okay.
So settings. And we were gonna cover settings next anyways.
Oh,
But before
sorry.
I come to settings, I did want to cover one more thing, and that's the status message. So you can set a status message, and that way when people hover over you or look at you, they can see what you're doing. So let's say you're doing interviews all day, you can type in interviews today. And that way people can know to kind of leave you alone, right? Unless it's super urgent or something like that. So you can put a status message, and then you can give your status message a time to live. So by default, it's today, or I can say this for the next hour, 4 hours, or whatever. And I'm not going to click done, so it's not going to actually go live. All right, settings. So let's take a look at settings. So there are a few things you can change. Auto start. So this has Teams auto start. By default, this is set. When you launch your computer, Teams auto starts. A lot of people misunderstand that. They may, like, if their computer is being slow for whatever reason, and the first thing they see is Teams starting, they blame the slowness on Teams, but that's not true necessarily. It's often, most of the time, something else that's causing the slowness, even though Teams is the visible thing they see. So just something to keep in mind if you're in IT and troubleshooting it. But auto start is on by default. You can have it open in the background, so it doesn't open in the foreground if you prefer. So these are basic settings. Here's where you can change the language and manage delegates. So a delegate can make and receive calls on your behalf. So if you have an executive who has an assistant, you might want to, often they want a delegate who can screen their calls. So this is where that's done. Privacy we talked about, so you can give people priority access to yourself. This is where it's done. You can also block people here. So if somebody's getting a bunch of calls from a certain number, you can add that here and block it. You can also choose to block calls that don't have caller ID. Notifications, so these are your pop-ups and toasts and stuff. You can control that. We talked about devices. This is where you manage the default device for Teams overall. So it's defaulting to my headset, which is fine. That's what I want it to be. And permissions. And this is where you can set your call forwarding, ringtones, configure your voicemail, that type of stuff. Any questions on settings? Oh, and call queues. So remember before you used to have to pop a web page to opt in and out of call queues?
Yeah.
Here you can do it right here. I can flip the switch. I don't have to go to a web page anymore, which is kind of nice. So if you're a member of a call queue and if you're going to be doing something else for an hour or two, you can turn it off right here. All right. And how much do you want to go into the Teams admin console with this group, Mike?
I would think probably most of us would like to see the admin console. I mean, I know like Denise does a lot in Teams. Myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Well, we could ask the group too. To those here. I think that would be beneficial.
Oh yeah, I think everybody in this group was
Yeah, do it.
pretty hands-on, and yeah.
All right. Just don't want to waste your time. Just want to make
Yep,
sure
it's good.
covering.
This is the good stuff, John. This is what we've been waiting for.
Okay. All right. So let's start with org-wide settings. We talked about external access. So this is where I can turn off Open Federation or not. And I believe you guys are Open Federation. So this is all on, and you don't have any domains in the whitelist. So as soon as I add a domain to the whitelist, I no longer have Open Federation. I'm only allowing domains that are in the list.
I think we have domains added to the list. So I don't think we are
we
Open
removed them.
Federation.
And the reason is because they have to exactly match when you're in hybrid mode. They have to match the on-prem environment. Right now, you guys are in hybrid, so you have an on-prem and you have a cloud environment. And to simplify life, we just removed them, I believe.
Oh.
If I recall. I believe you guys are open federation right now. In other words, don't mess with this at this point because you'll break things.
Fair enough.
All right, guest access. So here's where I can control more specific things in guest access. What I allow them to do, guests I invite to my teams. And these are overall for the whole environment. Search by name, scope. So actually, let me go up here where it says teams and manage teams, because this one's key. I showed you how to create teams. But if you want to delete a team or archive a team, you have to go here. You have to go into the admin console, go to manage teams. And this is where you can check box a team or multiple ones. And then I can either archive or delete it or edit it here. But edit doesn't give you a whole lot of ability. You could change whether it's a private, the privacy of the team. You can control a few things about conversations, etc., but not a whole lot. This isn't very powerful here, but this is where you do have to go to archive or delete a team.
What happens to a team when it's archived?
You can't add new content, but you can still look at it.
Ah, it's like a read-only status.
Yeah.
Cool.
Once you delete it, it's gone though.
Yeah.
So you can see here we only have a global policy, and then it should be assigned to everyone. Or I can create new policies and add them to a group. And then remember the team templates we saw for creating teams. So it gives you some templates by default, but you can also create your own templates. Here. For under devices, once you start getting your phones, they're going to populate here. So these are Teams native phones. If you've got any VVXs or the old phones, a VVX phone will work with Teams, but they're not going to be managed by Teams. The Link embedded edition phones won't work at all with Teams. So that's why you need to buy some new phones. I think you were working on that. But if you're buying the CCX phones, which are the Teams native phones, you can see they populate here. And this is actually a Yealink one here we brought in for testing. So they all populate here. And you can see it says update available. So I can actually update. I can actually perform an update from here. So these phones are centrally managed. So this is where we can manage phones. Conference phones, common area, user phones. I don't have any other. I only have user phones. I don't have any common areas right now, or conference phones. And you can create profiles. Which I don't have it either. All right, so this is where you manage devices. Users. So when you click on a user, you can get some information on what their default conferencing phone number is. So you guys have multiple locations. Like if you wanted different conference numbers and you assign them per location, so like maybe they have the same area code, you can do that. And here's where you would go and edit it to assign that user a different conference number. The user is going to have a DID and or extension assigned. You can see this is an on-premise number because we're doing Teams direct routing as well. And then Teams upgrade. So most of you guys are probably in islands mode. Once you migrate to Teams, it should say Teams only here, or it should say we may change the org-wide policy to Teams only. So that's where that's controlled. If I go to voice, here's where I can control some settings for this particular user. So group call pickup, I can add other people that would ring when his phone rings. So this might be useful if someone's on vacation or something, or if you want a group to ring when this phone rings, you can add them here. I can also restrict outbound calling for this user.
Hey, John, is that group call same as a hunt group or different in Teams?
So hunt group is no longer called a hunt group, it's called a call queue.
Okay.
And you can still create call queues. So this is different. This is more group, they call it group pickup. So it means that if somebody calls this person, you can have it ring at some other people, but it's not technically a call queue.
Okay.
Which you have call queues. So
Understood.
So it is kind of a workaround that acts similar to a call queue. So you're right in that.
Okay.
And you can also add delegates for this user here. So again, this would be useful if somebody has an assistant or something. You can delegate them to be able to answer your calls. All right, call history. So this is more fun. So one of the things it does do is it does dot out the number here. So you can't see the whole number. But if you're trying to find out what happened to a call, this is a place you can start troubleshooting. So you can click on a call. And you can get information. So if I go to advanced, I can get more information on this call, like what the IP address of the endpoints were and what the latency on the call was, if there's any jitter. So it gives me data on the call. So if somebody said they had a bad quality call, you can come here and look at the data. Under debug, there's even more information. So this can be a useful place to start when you're troubleshooting.
Hey, Mike, is that similar to what you spent time in for Skype call troubleshooting?
Yeah,
not
it's
as
similar.
good. It's not as
Yeah,
good.
It's not. I would have to go into the Skype server, and although there's a way to open it through a web browser, but I'd usually go there and then start digging through logs and yeah.
But
not as
because you
nice.
guys have direct routing, we'll also be able to do troubleshooting on that side too using the SBC. So this isn't as good as the Skype reporting.
Gotcha.
It's going to be up to you. It's not.
Okay.
And so by default, most policies are going to be global, assigned to the global wide setting. You'll see like the voice route won't be, that's US only. So remember how we have one called US only and then we have international for you guys or whatever. So if you wanted to change that, you could do it here. So that's basically that on the user. If you want other reporting, so I don't know how much you guys need reporting, but if you go to analytics and reports and usage reports, there's this one here called PSTN and SMS preview right here. And I can select a custom date range or last 7 days, run the report. And you'll see there's a little bit here, but these are service numbers. If I really want the detail on what end users have been doing, I click on direct routing. And you can see these aren't dotted out. I have full numbers here. And one of the nice things here is I can export it to a spreadsheet. So I can just come over here and click Excel. Give it a second. Then open that. And let's go ahead and open the spreadsheet. So now I've got a spreadsheet of the last 7 days of calls. It's not quite as bad as it looks here.
Hey, John, does that mean, since it called out an SMS there, does that mean that we can SMS to our DADs or short message text?
No, I don't know that you can do that.
Okay.
I haven't figured out. They used to be able to SMS from Exchange, but they turned that off. They got rid of that. They
Gotcha.
deprecated. I know of no way of SMSing.
Okay,
I don't
no
know why
worries.
it says SMS because I don't know of any way of SMSing.
No worries.
But anyways, I mean, here's a spreadsheet. Let's say I wanted to see it by user. I could just simply click here, and do my sort. Now I can sort all calls by given user. And so we use this a lot with our sales team because, our sales manager wants to know how many outbound calls Nick is doing or whatever. So I can simply add it up because it's a spreadsheet. So that's useful. That's call detail reporting, essentially. And you can do a custom date range. So if you only want to do 1 day, you can limit it to 1 day. Run the report. All right. And anything else you want to cover? So here's the messaging policies. I want to see if there's a way to allow files for external users. I haven't found that. So here I can turn off Giphies for messaging org-wide if I wanted to, memes and all that, stickers and all that stuff. This is where you would turn that off. But I don't see the guest stuff here. Don't see it here. All right, well, I'll have to dig into that. You mentioned call queues, and those are here under voice. Mike's already an expert on this, but this is where you would find your call queues and your auto attendants.
Okay.
Do you guys use Call Park? Because that can be configured here.
I don't think we do. I think there was a feature like that was used by one of the older or previous receptionists, but it was like via link. Auto attendant 2010.
Skype has Call Park.
Yeah.
Here we've got it turned off. I'm not a big fan of Call Park, but Call Park does allow you to park a call and then you could pick it up from any other phone. But what was happening is we had like paging, so people would get on there and say, John, you got a call on 101. And, it'd be every 10 seconds you'd get, Bob, you got a call on 105, like that. And to me, that's distracting and annoying and lazy. It's easier just to IM the person that you have a call for them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm not personally a fan of Call Park, but it is something you can configure. You can see I have it turned off here for us. We don't have caller ID policies on ours, but I thought we're gonna have them for you. So this is a place you can set it up in the web UI. We'll probably end up doing it with PowerShell. but basically we're going to create a policy and then you assign them to a user. So you'll like Sacramento or whatever you call the location, right? So we'll give it a name and then we'll override with a number. By default, the user's own number is sent out as the caller ID. All right. Any other questions?
I don't think I have any at this moment. I'm looking through your PDFs you sent us.
Right.
real
So
quick.
on your end user training, obviously you're not going to cover any of this stuff.
Right.
And I can tell you, I've done a lot of them and you can get it done in 35 to 40 minutes. No issue. So I would schedule 45 to allow for a little Q&A, and that should be adequate for those. And then just follow the follow what I sent you. Let me find it here. Yeah, just follow through it.
The agenda.
Yeah, just roll through it, and it really just does what I did. It flows through the client. Just start here at the top under activity, chat. It just kind of flows down through it. So it's pretty logical. And it just prompts you for the different topics.
So John, we're gonna, we've talked about this a couple different times, and you've given us some good guidance, right? I think you've recommended what, 20, probably 20 or less in our sessions. So we'll be offering these. Will you be available to maybe sit through one or two of these with us?
Sure, I can
Like I
do
say,
that.
yeah, everybody, but that said, everybody, well, not everybody, but just about everybody on this group is gonna be delivering these, and we don't know what kind of response we're gonna get to the sessions, but that would be good if you can continue to guide us. But this is a great jumping off point for sure.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
And just a reminder, Mike, did Tabor touch base with you on the response groups and getting those moved?
Good question.
He sent you an email, but that's something that has to happen before the user migration because you cannot send a call to a Skype for Business response group.
Let's see. Yeah, he emailed me on Monday.
So we want to
Script
migrate
was
those.
updated to set users to teams only. The old Exchange AAs have already been moved to the cloud. We need to move our response groups. So I need to reach out to him. I know I've got a couple other items I owe you guys too, like the E911 and the call
we should get all that
blocks.
done as well. Yeah, before we start moving users. All right. Just wanted to remind you.
All right, thank you.
I know you're busy. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Thanks, Louis.
No, thank you, John. We don't. Well, right. Sorry. So you were asking me if we have any other questions. It's kind of like I don't know what I don't know, and so I think some of the programming piece, which I don't think everybody on the call needs to know. Like I'll get with Mike on. Mike, you're more familiar with call queues and that kind of thing. I don't think we have a super advanced setup here at Clark Pacific anyway, but that'd probably be something that I'd love to work with you on specifically,
Sure.
just to get more.
And Mike actually has done a bunch of them because we did that prior when they deprecated Exchange Online. We had to quickly move your call queue, your auto attendants.
Oh yeah, right.
Call queues. So Mike did a lot of that work, so he's pretty familiar with it. But we have to do that again. We have to do some more. There's some response groups that are still remaining on-prem that need to move.
Okay.
And it's really the same process we used before. We just got to get it through it and get it done.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, this has been good, John. Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. All right.
All
Thank
right,
you,
team.
guys.
Yep.
All right.
Great, thank you.
Thanks
Thanks,
all.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.